Buddy JC here with another T&I toy review, and for today's review we're going to take a look at the new DC Collectibles DC Comics Designer Series Greg Capullo Red Hood figure. This figure is part of the second wave of Designer Series Greg Capullo figures. It's listed as number 5 as depicted on the packaging. The figure comes packaged in very similar window box packaging that we saw with the first series. You've got some choking hazard warnings up at the top in various languages. You've got the figure clearly displayed in the window box packaging with the name of the character off to the side, and you've got the name, the DC Comics Designer Series logo down underneath that with Greg Capullo's name. The packaging for this wave is done in white and red colors. On the one side, it gives us some drawings from Greg Capullo, or a drawing from Greg Capullo of the Red Hood character, with the designer series logo and the name of the character and everything underneath that. And then on the back, it shows us all 4 figures in the second wave. So we've got Red Hood, and it tells us that figure was sculpted by Jonathan Matthews. And then it shows us figure number 6 in the series is Catwoman, number 7 is Mr. Freeze, and number 8 is Thrasher Suit Batman. And I should note that right now the Red Hood figure is the only figure in the second wave that's been released. The other 3 figures will be released at a later date. Okay, so let's get this figure open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging. It's a pretty basic looking figure. It's basically the character is in a all black suit with white shirt and white gloves and black tie. He's got shiny patent shoes, but the overall sculpting and everything on this is pretty nice. And then the figure the figure has 2 different heads. It's basically kind of 2 figures in one. It comes packaged, when you take it out of the packaging, it's got this more traditional Red Hood head sculpt, the long almost cone-shaped hood, very reminiscent of what the original Red Hood character wore. This particular Red Hood is Red Hood 1, and he leads a gang of Red Hood, the Red Hood gang basically. But I've only read parts of that storyline, so I'm not sure if it was ever established if this Red Hood 1 guy is actually the Joker or not. Some of you are more familiar with the storyline, can certainly comment and let us know, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, the leader of the gang, he wore this more traditional looking red hood. And I really like the sculpting on the face for this. He's got this kind of big grinning smile, I guess reminiscent again of the Joker. You can almost see a gap between one of his teeth. So I think there's some nice detailing there. And then, as I said, this is basically 2 figures in one. So you not only get the leader of the Red Hood gang, but then you can switch out the heads and put basically the hood that the other members of the gang are seen wearing in the comic book. So this is basically what the henchmen wear. And so if you want to buy multiples of this figure, you could create your own Red Hood gang if you wanted to. So that's kind of a nice added feature that basically gives you kind of 2 figures in one. So besides coming with the 2 alternate heads, the figure comes with a number of other accessories, basically weapons. He comes with an Uzi, which is basically in a flat gray. Some nice sculpting on the Uzi, definitely. Nice details there. So it's a very cool looking weapon. He comes with a pistol, which again, same coloring as the Uzi. And again, pretty nice detailing with the sculpting on the weapon. Then he comes with a very strange looking ray gun looking rifle, which I was guessing he used in the comics, but I don't recall what kind of weapon this is supposed to be. But it definitely looks kind of like an advanced laser type rifle or something. And again, the dark grays is the gun, plus it has some lighter grays mixed in and some decent sculpting. It's a weird gun, but there you go. And then he finally comes with a sickle, which has some nice detailing, has some tape wrapped on the handle, and then looks like there's a little bit of blood on the tape wrappings around the actual sickle blade. So that's pretty cool. I like the detailing on the sickle that he comes with. The thing I do want to mention is both hands are sculpted to hold weapons and accessories. However, the plastic used on the hands is very stiff. So when you're first trying to get the weapons into the hands, it can be somewhat difficult. Once you start, actually getting it in there and kind of loosen the plastic up a little bit, then it becomes a bit easier. But you also might get some paint transfer from the white on the gloves onto the weapons as you try and slide those in. But he does hold the weapons pretty well once you are able to kind of pry them into his hands. And like I said, the more you do it, the looser the plastic comes and the easier it is. But that initial time where you're trying to stick the weapons in his hands, you might find it's a little bit difficult. Other things to note on the figure's jacket is sculpted with that kind of vinyl flexible material. At least part of the jacket on the body, and so like down towards the bottom it actually is loose from the body, so you can actually pull it away a little bit. The jacket's not removable or anything, but just to note that it is sculpted with that kind of vinyl material towards the bottom of the suit jacket. Figure stands, if you have the Red Hood 1 head on it, the figure stands at just a little bit over 7 inches tall. If you've got the Henchman Red Hood head on it, then the figure stands just under 7 inches tall. So, depending on which head you have on the figure, will change his height a little bit. And just for some additional size comparisons, here he is standing next to the Arkham video game Red Hood figure recently released by DC Collectibles. And you can see that this new Red Hood figure is a bit taller than that one. And then next to the new 52 Jason Todd version of the Red Hood. And again, with the Red Hood Prime or Red Hood 1 head on it, he's definitely the tallest of the bunch. And just for one more comparison, here is with the Henchman head next to the Jason Todd new 52 Red Hood figure, and you can see that even with the Henchman head, he is a little bit taller than the Jason Todd figure. The articulation on this figure is as follows. The heads are on ball joints, so he has a little bit of up and down movement, but not a whole lot, and he can look left and right with either head. His arms are basically just swivel. They're not on ball joints, so you can't really get the arms out at all, which is a little disappointing. He does have good rotation, but you can't do the arms outward. He does have a bicep swivel, single hinged elbow, so he can bend his elbow pretty good. And then he has the swivel at the wrist, but no hinges at the wrist. He does have a midsection swivel, no ab crunch or anything. And then again, the legs are basically on a T-crotch type design, so you can't really do any kind of splits with this figure. He does have good forward movement with the leg, and can do it backwards a little bit. Pretty good. He does not have a thigh swivel at all. Can bend his single hinged knee, so he can bend his knee about that much. And then he's got hinge and swivel at the ankle, no pivot, but he does have some down movement with the hinge. Not a whole with the way the pants is sculpted. You can't really do the foot up too much, but you can rotate it left and right. And then he has one peg hole at the bottom of his foot. So that's my review. Overall, I think if you're a fan of this character, then I think this is a pretty decent figure. The articulation is a little weak, with the way the arms and the legs are attached. It would be nice if they had given it ball joints, but I can understand to keep the overall aesthetics of the suit why they didn't give him those types of joints, but it does limit his posability to some degree. I do like the alternate heads. I like that you can basically get kind of, two figures in one with this, and if you wanted to, you could buy multiple figures and actually create a Red Hood gang if you wanted. So I like that. And it comes with some decent accessories, so that's good. We've gotten a lot of Red Hood figures recently from DC Collectibles, but definitely, if you're a fan of Greg Capullo or that, 0-year storyline, then I think you probably definitely want to pick this one up. It is hitting comic and specialty shops now, so if you do want to add them to your collection, then start checking your local stores or favorite online e-tailers. And that's my review. Please leave a comment, let us know what you think, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll check you later.